Hi, and welcome to the Adelaide Horror Podcast. This is your host, Zombie Joe. Today's episode is number 20, and I'm looking at creature horror. So I've picked 2000's Jeepers Creepers. I've got a collection of other of my favourite creature features as well, so that's going to go into the horrible mentions section of this, and the podcast version that you can get on iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify will go into these movies more in depth. I'm just going to be mentioning them today in the episode and just talk about Jeepers Creepers in general. No spoiler kind of stuff. So if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. First time horror film, I'd suggest, it's, I don't see why not. But like I said, it's up to the discretion of the person showing. If it's a kid that wants to see it, then you kind of go, wait until you're a bit older. But if it's, you've got a partner and they haven't really, you're just introducing them for the first time into a horror film kind of stuff, I'd recommend that they can watch it, but just watch it with you rather than on their own kind of thing, and just basically explain roughly what the film's about. But yeah, I can see that as being kind of like a first time dabble into a horror film where it's not too terrifying, but it's scary enough to get your heebies, tickled. So, yeah, cool. Just a bit of housekeeping before, I should say, crypt keeping beforehand. So, what the deal is with me now? What's the deal, Potato Pill? I'm going to be doing episodes now every month. Well, the last two fucking episodes have been every month. That's kind of been out of my hands. A lot of different little commitments have been going on, primarily with the kid, and then outside of that, which is my work commitments and stuff. I've still kept my original job, but I've picked up another job, and now recently I've picked up another job. So, very busy little ghoul here out into the human world. So, yeah, I've just been in the last month getting my bonehead around how to do this job properly and all the procedures and protocols involved with that. Just the different hours. I start very early in the morning or very late in the afternoon. So it's kind of all over the place. Juggling the toddler. So it's kind of, I've been meaning to sit down for quite some time now and talk about Jeepers Creepers, but the time just hasn't been on my side. So I just kind of thought, okay, I don't want to give up the podcast. I just got to be realistic about time management. So I decided it'll be monthly episodes, and that way I'll still be able to research the films that I want to talk about and be able to realistically keep to a kind of a time roster with the episode. So if you have subscribed, then that way every month you're going to see Mr. Potato Head come out and talk about his favourite horror films, and all good, cool. So yeah, it's been quite a ride for the last month. So, and also too, there's major arterial fucking roadworks happening right in the front of my house because it's a main road. So, I get fun. It's 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. My front main road is like fucking New York City, and it's that's all you're fucking hearing. Like, not too loud because the trees kind of dumb the noise down a bit, and there's a bit more insulation because we're double brick, but it's still noisy. Like you could, and so I've just gotten used to going to sleep with this humming noise now. Like, it's bizarre. Recording wise, it's a fucking nightmare. Like I haven't got a quieter room in the house. This literally is our quiet room, and just happens to be right in the front of the house. So with major roadworks going on at the front, my mics are picking up everything. So apart from my bloody crusty voice, so that kind of doesn't work. Anywho, so got all over all of that. So anyway, on with the show, and cool. So Jeepers Creepers is my creature pick. That is my favourite creature film for the last 20 years. Over the last 40, however, there's been a couple of crackers that have come up in between that kind of sit to the left of the major kind of flagship creature movies that you think, and the big kahuna of that one would be The Creature of the Black Lagoon. That kind of kicked it all off. and then you had others in between that. So for me, I kind of went through which was the ones that kind of jumped out and really kind of shook me a bit, and stayed in the wheelhouse of the ones that I really like, that are a bit obscure and don't quite, sit in the basket in the sunlight of the flagship kind of creature films like your, Tremors and such. So Jeepers Creepers 2000. The other one, 1980, was Humanoids from the Deep, or Monsters, and then it's got Humanoids of the Deep in brackets. It just depends on what was released at that time. That one is kind of like, if they say there was a movie that was a love letter to a certain film, this was the R-rated Penthouse edition story version of the creatures from the Black Lagoon. Very graphic, doesn't hold back, very gory. This is the very highbrow version of Creatures of the Black Lagoon. And so that's why I dug it. I dug the premise. I thought it was really good. Like, if you follow the storyline, I mean, you can see it for free on YouTube. So just type in Humanoids from the Deep full movie and it will come up, and you've got a free movie. Like, you can't get pissed off with it. Even if you think it's shit, it won't affect you anyway, because it costs you nothing to watch it. But gory wise, story wise, creature design wise, I really liked it. Like, that's why I liked this film, and got made my list in that sense too. After that, in 84, hang on, let me double check the call. I was correct. Is Chud, 1984. Now, Chud, the Humanoids from the Deep, I was late to the party with on that one, because that I kind of learned afterwards while watching other films, and then I've watched it then. Chud, I first got introduced to as a kid via trailers, and then also another big ass cardboard cutout in our video shop, with the lid coming up and the glowing eyes, and and then one of the trailers I saw, and I can't mistake the narrator, like, just going Chud, like, and it just stuck in my mind, cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers. And as a kid, I was like, what a fucking mouthful. What does that mean? And then you chuck in the monster as well, and I'm thinking, what the fuck is this movie? Like, and I thought, right, when I'm old enough, I'm definitely going to be checking out Chud, like, for sure. It's funnily enough, it's got John Goodman in it. He plays one of the officers, and another comedic actor as well. That was in one scene in a diner where he gets attacked by all the Chud monsters. And so it's got a pretty decent cast, and like I said, I just like the prop design. I like the theory behind it, the storyline and stuff like that. I thought it was really, really good. So definitely a recommend from me as well. And like I said, I'll go into a little bit more story depth in the podcast version that you can listen to. The next one is Pumpkinhead 1988 with Lance Henriksen, and also starring Mira Bialik as well. She was little in this one. This was her second movie. The first one was actually Beaches, and then she was in Pumpkinhead, and then went on to do Blossom and all these other TV shows. When people introduce her to late night TV shows and stuff like that, they ramble off everything else, but they don't mention Pumpkinhead at all. So I don't know whether she says don't add Pumpkinhead, whether she says that, or the host's discretion is we're just not going to mention a horror film that she was in. I don't know. It's a bit bizarre, but they never talk about Pumpkinhead. They always bring up Blossom, they always bring up Beaches, and they just go over Pumpkinhead. Like, so anyway, the reason why I picked Pumpkinhead is this is a phenomenal creature movie. Now, I was really Pumpkinhead and The Creeper were the two ones I was kind of deciding over which one I wanted to talk about. And so I did a bit of a process where I was like, which was the one that really knocked my pants off? Like, and I was like, wow, because it just came out of nowhere. I wasn't expecting it. The creature design, like I said, the story plot, the works, like, and that's where The Creeper won it over on that one. As whether Pumpkinhead, This oversized, terrifying creature. Great storyline as well. Great creature premise. Great design as well. So it was very, very hard for me to go, right, do I do a double feature and talk about both Pumpkinhead and the Creeper, or I just had to pick one, really? So very equal 1 and 2, the Creeper and Pumpkinhead for that. So I just wanted to stress that. So like I said, Pumpkinhead in 1988 came out, and I watched that as a preteen, I reckon, at a friend's place. We were doing a sleepover, and the Pumpkinhead, and it freaked me out in all the good ways. And I just kind of said to myself, yeah, when I'm older, I'm gonna own this and own this movie. This was pretty good. So that's the other creature feature mentioned for me as well. The other one that I was late to the party and made my other kind of top 5 thing was Rawhead Rex. Now, I've seen many pictures of Rawhead Rex in Fangoria growing up as a kid, and seeing the pictures and going, what the fuck is this? Like, just his face and the teeth, and he just looked like, he reminded me a bit of like a monster version of Rocksteady. Like if like, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like if he went like into a full horror film about him, that's kind of what Rawhead Rex reminded me of. Yeah, and just I like the idea. It's like set in Ireland. It's kind of the Irish version of like all the answers to all these other American creature feature movies, and kind of Ireland's kind of response to the horror gene. They threw their little hat in the ring, and so this was our kind of Irish horror film. I really dug it. I thought it was good. The acting's a bit on and off, but I mean, you're going to get that. The special effects, it's 1986, so they did not too bad. It's not rage quit material. I've seen modern day films with their CG, and I'm fucking rage quitting within a minute and a half. That's why I like to talk about the films that I like, not the films that I don't like, because it would be a completely different podcast, and I'd be here for hours just shitting on numerous movies, and I don't want to do that. Like, so, I just want to stick to the good stuff. The good stuff gets my time and energy. That's just kind of how I am. And so Rawhead Rex, didn't mind it, and definitely check it out if you haven't seen it. Another free movie on YouTube, Rawhead Rex, full movie. Check it out. You might like it, you might hate it. I think the gore effects on this is pretty good, and that's why it made the grade in that sense, which was great. So yeah, definitely check out Rawhead Rex. The story premise, I really liked it too. It was like around witchcraft. This town had dealt with this thing before and they buried it, but somehow some resurrection work or reconstruction and stuff like that, it managed to come out. It freed it by accident, and it came out like that, and that's how it starts attacking everyone. So yeah, that's Rawhead Rex. So that's that. And like I said, I'll go into in depth in the podcast show about that. So cool. I'm just gonna shut this because I won't really need that anymore. I'll get stuck into a little bit of the Jeepers Creepers, and then we can go from that. Cool. So Jeepers Creepers, like I said, 2000, came out in the US in August 2001, and then we got it in January 2002. I remember it was a summer movie. I went to go and see it at the Highley Street cinemas. I caught the bus down and spent the day in town and caught the early session, and because the kids it wasn't school holidays, I just pretty much had the whole theatre myself, which was pretty good. It was also where I went to go and see Event Horizon, actually, in the same cinema too. And I was aware of, so Gina Phillips at that point I wasn't really familiar with, but I was familiar with Justin Long, who plays Durry in there. It's spelled Darry. In the film, I could swear she's saying dairy. In the spelling, it's like Darry, which is quite funny because Durry in Australian is a slang term for cigarette. So she's going, Durry, and I'm like, fuck, all right, you want to smoke now? Like, like, so, Trish and Durry is driving along the freeway. And Justin Long, so he appeared in, so before this would have been Galaxy Quest, if I'm not wrong. And then after this, in the middle of shooting this in 2000, he was in a TV show called Ed, who had, I think, Tom Cavanagh or Ed, no, I think it's Tom Cavanagh. He plays Dr. Wells in The Flash with the CW series. It was Ed. It was just about this guy and his life, and Justin Long's character worked in the bowling alley of the show, and he was kind of like the young guy in the TV show. It was kind of like, I call Ed the guy version of the Gilmore Girls. Like, this is the blokes Gilmore Girls, was Ed, pretty much. I really dug the show. I liked it. I thought it was alright. Anyway, so that's how I knew Justin Long from that one. So when the trailers came out for Jeepers Creepers and I saw him in it, I thought, okay, this should be interesting, man, because he's come from this comedic kind of thing, and now he's in this horror film. All right, no worries. So I saw a movie trailer for Jeepers Creepers, which is now, you can see it on IMDb, which is basically the same theatre release that I got. And yeah, far out. I by the end of this trailer, I was like, I've got to see this fucking movie. Like, oh my God, are you serious? Like, nothing like that I remember seeing for a long time. And so anyway, like I said, Trish and Durry are going down the freeway, which is shot in Florida. And at the start of the film, you see them driving, and they, this ping pong dialogue, I call it. We're not getting to know them, but we're kind of getting to know them through a brother and sister bitchy dialogue. And I don't mean bitchy in a negative sense. I mean, they have a very good relationship for a brother and sister, and very sarcastic, serious when it has to be serious, but the banter between these two is really, really good, and it's well written. So these two, they're on their home. They're heading back home. Like, Justin's from college. He's returning back to his mum, and in the back, he's got all his laundry to bring back to his mum to wash. And the sister's promptly giving him shit about that, saying, you can't use a washing machine. And he's like, dry clean is expensive, and all this kind of stuff. So he's being a bit of a tight ass, and he's bringing all his collection of dirty washing over a period of time back to his mum to wash. And so it's just them, talking and just about random stuff every now and then. And then the urban legend story about that area comes up. The sister brings up the boyfriend and girlfriend couple in 1977 that go missing. And then, Derry says, nah, this is the version of the story. They found the car and not her head. And then the sister had a different version of that story. So like all urban legends, the stories are all mixed up, and they kind of, are talking about what's going on. In the meantime, you see in the background, there's a camper van, and it suddenly turns off. Now, when it turns off, I don't know if it was just me, and I had to watch this, and I watched it a couple of times, and I still couldn't get it. There's a flash near the wheel, and I'm trying to work out whether it had driven. If you see other Jeepers Creepers movies, he loves throwing the road spike down, or he throws something and it blows a tire. And I'm thinking, did he just blow the tire out of the camper van? Because you see this van, because it's a big ass, well, for American viewers, the Winnebago. Like, you see this thing just swipe, take this hard fucking left, left or right turn, from my point of view, watching it on the screen, takes a hard turn and then goes off. And I'm thinking, that's a bit bizarre to turn like that. And I was thinking, I bet you he's had its tyre blown out, and then he's coming back for them, like the creeper I'm talking about, because behind them, you see the dark silhouette of the rusty late 40s pickup truck zooming, and it's picking up, and it just reminded me of Jaws. Like, you could just see the shark just coming, you can see it, they can't. And they're oblivious. Like, Justin's like, he's singing a song, mate. Like, he's singing, rah, 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 and he's driving his car and he's singing a song. I'm like, fuck. Like, so as a viewer, you're like, dude, like, there's a fucking car. Like, it's like, can you not hear that? And then right as it approaches, it just hits the horn, and it's this weird kind of boat truck horn. It's just bizarre. He jumps fucking out of his skin and nearly loses control of the car, and he's trying to. This is the funny thing. She keeps yelling, "Pull over so he can get thing." He goes, "I'm trying." He's not trying. He's just doing the steering wheel like this, going, "I'm trying." I'm like, mate, just fucking spin. You know what I mean? Like, and he goes a bit on the grass, and then he's back on the road. I'm like, just pull over. Like, it's just hilarious. So that part made me laugh. It didn't anger me, but it just made me laugh. I'm like, mate, you're not fucking pulling over. Like it's, you pull over, you hit the brake, and you skid into the grass, like I've done numerous times. And the guy would have, and eventually some kind of weird ass maneuver happens, and the creeper drives past him and just guns it, like, and just leaves him for dead, like, bloody Fast and Furious 3-second car style. And in the background, you see the number plate, and I read it initially as beating you, right? And I went, the fuck, like, and I thought, wow, it comes with its own bloody custom number plate, like, that's pretty good. So then, later on, it gets revealed it says "be eating you," and I went, holy shit, that's sensational. And I went, this is a creature that's got its own fucking custom plate. Like, how good is that? Apart from the vampire in Stephen King Nosferatu, which I think is just a kick, mate. Out of number plates, like, being a car buff, a number plate NOS 4R2 is just fucking brilliant. Like, I just was like, oh my god. Like, if I had a hot rod, that would definitely be the number plate for me. That is just hands down the best. That is awesome. So Be Eating You was fantastic when I first saw this, and this is another kind of tick for me for this movie. The originality, the kind of cool. I thought it was great, and it got me thinking. Who is this creature inside this van? Like, is it a man? Is it like half a cretin? What the fuck? Like, it drives a car. Like, it knows. Everyone kind of goes, well, hang on a minute. Mike Myers in Halloween, kid when he kills his sister goes into Haydenfield, like, comes out. Knows how to drive a car somehow, like, and everyone's kind of like, what the fuck? Like, he went in as a kid. How the hell did he learn how to drive? Like, just things like that. So I kind of got myself thinking, like, what? Like, given the age of the creeper and this, the hundreds of years, and, the introduction, obviously, from horse to car and stuff like that, obviously it had somehow learnt how to drive a car. My theory is when it consumes you, right, when it eats you for a specific body part or organ, right? So this is my theory. My theory to the creeper is basically he knows how to drive because he's consumed people after the introduction of the automobile, which is like a muscle memory, whatever, of how to, well, it's not a column shift. I've been trying to look at whether it's a gear stick or not. There's some scenes inside, I think Jeepers Creepers 2 and 3, some of the people inside the van have gone into the van. So you see the layout inside the van. In Jeepers Creepers, the first one, you don't. You just see the back. You're the POV inside the van looking out. So when he opens the doors, you see him, throws a body in, shuts the door. That's all you're seeing, and then darkness. So that's the Creepers van that you see in the first one. But in the second 2 and 3, you get more familiar with the outlay of the inside cabin of the car. So I can't remember off the top of my head if this is a column shift or if this is like a gear situation. I'm more leaning on, because it's an old truck, it's definitely the gear coming up. I've been around older trucks like that. I'm going with that one, but I could be wrong. It could be a column like shift. So anyway, I'm being a car nut. So so that's why I was kind of like, okay, that's where it's learnt how to do it, or it's had plenty of practice on its farm. Between eating people, I'm going to go out and practice how to drive a car. Like, it's evolved. If it's got to attack and kill its prey and bring it back, it's got to evolve. How does it evolve? Well, let me learn how to drive a car so that I can eat more people and cover more distance. So that's kind of my theory. That's it. That's all I'm saying. I'm not putting it on the internet. This is my little Zombie Joe theory, about that. So yeah, because it's interesting. They talk about the creature, the theory, the myth behind the Jeepers Creeper. I think there's something around where it kind of explains what the creature is, kind of thing. They kind of lean a bit towards alien, but not really. They kind of lean a bit towards demon, but not really. It's just kind of sits. It's its own species, really. That's kind of why I found it more fascinating, is because it doesn't fit into these subjects, and it's the reason why these are the creature films that I picked, because I avoided Alien, I avoided Dynamic. I just kind of was like, okay, what's a humanoid like, and what's some other creature movies that are out there that are really good, that kind of stuck out as these kind of creature films, and that's why I picked these movies. So yeah, anyway, so that's kind of what goes down. There's this kind of off scenario, and then Darian and Trish continue driving after that, after being run off the road, and they're kind of a bit spooked. So while they're continuing down the road, they see this abandoned church, and Trish notices the truck and says, that's the guy. So they slowly drive past, and they see the truck doors are open. They see the guy is long, like he's in a dryzer bone kind of duster coat. I think they say in America, we call it a dryzer bone here in Australia, and his hat, and he throws pretty much what's a body into a drain, like galvanized shaped tube, angular, that goes into the ground like a chute. And it's wrapped in a sheet, covered in blood, rope around the head, rope around the body. It looks like a body, like, how they chuck a body from in the sea, like when they do an ocean burial. That's what it looked like. So anyway, they see that, and they kind of go to fuck, and that. So pausing there, moving on to the real life inspiration of that. There was a couple, if you Google it, this actually happened. They were driving in the country, husband's gone in the thing, and they see a guy chuck a body into a chute, in the back of the house, and they contact the cops. Lo and behold, this guy killed his wife, and they just happened to drive past while they were doing it, and the guy who murdered his wife saw them and then fucking promptly chased them up the interstate, like this driver scene in here. The scene with the truck also, when the pursuit and the road rage kind of stuff as well, was a nod to Jewel, which was another horror film in the 70s based on a truck driver and a guy, and this kind of tit for tat kind of feel. I saw it a very long time ago. It's great. That's kind of where I sit with it. I don't have any desire to sit and watch it again. And if there's an automotive horror section, it's not going to be my choice. It's not because I don't like it. I think it's shit. It's just, it's not going to be my choice. I've got other automotive horror films that I can think of apart from Christine. So, yeah, cool. No, and it's not hybrid, and it's not that fucking tire one. Have you seen? Oh my god, it's a tire that kills people. It's just bouncing around. I've seen the trailer. It's just rolling around. It just fucking kills people. What the fuck is going? And when I see movies like that, I'm like, mate, I've got scripts. Fuck this. I'm going to Netflix. Like, I was just like, right, cut that shit out. Here's a real script. Make that, please. Like, oh my god, fucking bouncing tire. It kills people. I was just, man, it just beggars belief. And or I know, other people that are struggling as film writers. They've got really great scripts and great dialogue and character building and everything, and they can't get a leg up. But this fuckwit, like, goes in. Here's a fucking horror movie with a bouncing tire. Like, oh, here's all the money. Fucking here's all the money. Like, this is crazy. Just made me laugh. Like, so anyway, a little rant over. And this is why I don't do negativity podcasts, things about horror films, because it'd be like a major ranto. So anyway, back to the task at hand. Body down the chute. They get chased by the creek, and this one it's a bit more full on. He starts ramming them. He's like running them off the road. He's meaning business, like, and then he does all that, and then they kind of, pull off, and off he goes somewhere. Like, so I'm at this point, I'm in two minds whether he's gone to actually kill the camper people. At this point, I'm still trying to feel the timeline in this, because the camper people get mentioned in IMDb, but that's it. That's my assumption that's what's going on. He's chucked a body down there, and so they end up going back to the house to see what's going down with this abandoned church and the tube and the pipe. So they go back down. And, he's trying to have a look, and he's dangling himself down, and the sister's holding him, and it's a classic line. She goes, this is the part of the movie where everyone thinks you're a fucking idiot. Like, and it was true. I was thinking to myself, what are you doing? Like, I was already thinking that when they drove back to the church. I'm like, mate, what the fuck? Like, get on the fuck. It was early 2000s, so of course, mobile phones don't work in the country then. Which is true. I've been through some country towns, and suddenly you're bloody like I won't mention telecommunication companies on this thing. Whoops. I went with a certain telecommunication company because they had better coverage in the country than other ones. So that's all I'm going to say. Anyway, so they get taken out by the telecommunications mafia. So yeah. Anyway. So, of course, the phone doesn't work kind of thing. And, so they're kind of like, oh, shit, what do we do? So he's saying, go back and get the thing. He sees rats. He freaks out. He jiggles too much. Of course, what happens? He goes down the chute. And then he's down there. She thinks he's dead. He kind of gets up again, dusts himself off, and then kind of walks around and says, go get help. If you see the thing, holler back at me and get help. This is what I was confused with, because he was saying, go get help, but wait there. If you see the truck, get him to come back. I'm like, well, get her to go and then get the thing, and not, because she's just kind of sitting there, either waiting for the truck to come back or waiting for someone else to come past so they can flag down and get a cop. I didn't understand that logic, because, it didn't make sense, but or I'm a dumbass. I don't know. I just didn't get that concept too much. And then of course, the truck has come and she's shitting bricks, and lets him know that the truck's there. She gets out of the way, kind of thing. In the meantime, he's looking around and discovers a revelation in there, which I'm not going to talk about. Discusses something else in there, which I'm not going to talk about. Structurally, with this den or layer that you want to call it, and then there's where he comes back to the car. He gets out. He gets back to the car. He finds his way back out, and he's like, "We got to go to the cops. Like, we've got to right now." So they head off and they get to the diner. So there's the diner scene, and he comes in and he's shaken. He's not speaking properly. He's got mud and he's all cut up, and he's looking absolutely mangled. The people in the diner are looking at him, going, "What the fuck's this guy like?" So the waitress said, "You can use the phone, and the sister." They call the cops. So, being America, it's the troopers. So the troopers come down for that county, and they take his statement. He's trying to explain to them what's going on. They're kind of finding it hard to believe, but they're hanging in there a bit. They're doing some good police work. They're trying to keep him calm while getting the story out of him, and understand that he's in shock and he's a bit spooked as well. So they're doing their job in that procedure wise to kind of keep him relaxed while he explains what's going on. And then in the meantime, someone else said, "Was that your car out there? Because it's been broken into." So they go out there and they find all of Durry's clothes splattered across the thing. He's broken in. He's managed to. And the waitress said, "Well, whoever it was liking it while he was sniffing your clothes, and he's got the scent kind of thing." In the meantime, there was a phone call, and this is when we get introduced to Giselle, who's played by Patricia Belcher, and she's like I wouldn't say clairvoyant, but she's kind of said, "I've had this vision of you. And you're now at this diner, and this is what you're wearing, and I've seen a vision of the future, involving you and the creature." And so she plays the Jeepers Creepers song and says, "When you hear this song, it's close, it's around. So get out while you can," kind of thing, escape, blah blah blah. So he thinks she's a bit of a crackpot, but at the same time, she's managed to say stuff that only he would know, and she describes what he's wearing. So he's looking around the diner thinking someone's on the mobile, trying to prank him, which kind of doesn't make sense, because how can you ring a public number on a phone? I don't get it. Anyway, again, me being a dumbass, I don't know how, but he's kind of thinking that's what's going on, and then realizes, shit, okay, she does kind of know what she's talking about, and is promptly freaked out by him saying it. And then so he hangs up, tells her to fuck off, and hangs up, and they go with the troopers. So this is the part of the film where Creeper ramps it. This is right, I'm now going to catch my prey now, and whoever's in my way I'm just going to go through them. So the troopers are following behind Derry and Trish. They're bringing them in for, well, not questioning because they're in the shit, but they want to know what's going on anyway. So they start heading off for the farm, right? They're going to go to the farmhouse, the old church house, after he gives them the description of what's going on. And he mentions the couple that went missing in the 70s, and the coppers going, well, they'd be boned by now, not with flesh and sewn together. So they're kind of trying to work out what he's talking about. And he's explaining, look, they're pickled, he's done some kind of thing to the skin that's preserved it, kind of thing, and that's why they're like that. And so anyway, they decide to humor him and hear him out and go down to investigate. In the meantime, they get a radio call from someone saying the place is lit, it's on fire, so they're almost suggesting that they burnt the place down and made the story up. So they're thinking, oh, okay, that's something to think about. Right when this happens, the creeper, you can hear this noise, and you're like, the hell was that? It was actually him flying, and he lands on the police car. And he's standing on the police car, and the other officer, what the hell's that? And goes to look and gets sucked out, and then the other guy gets pulled out through the roof. So that's pretty good, and pretty good effect. And by this point, I was like, fuck, I've got to own this movie. When it comes out, I've got to own this film. Holy shit, this is phenomenal. And then he pulls the axe out. And I was like, what fucking creature? He's making his own he's making his own bloody tools. Like this is pretty good. Like he's made his own weapon. He's got the thing, and like I said in the later Jeepers Creepers series, he's making all this weaponry out of bone and skin, and you know these rigged booby traps in the van, and like, you know, spears, and in the carvings, there's stories in the carvings about him carved into the thing. So there's a lot of this kind of lore and you know, story behind the Creeper, and that's why I picked the Creeper as the ultimate kind of creature film. So but I'm not going to go into Jeepers Creepers 2 and 3. There's a new one, Reborn, which is going to be the retelling and resetting of the story due to, I've been avoiding it, the controversy around Jeepers Creepers, which as horror fans we all know about, and hence why I haven't been bringing that up. So I just personally, okay, I'll take a moment to explain myself with that. We know what happened involving the director and the writer of the film. My reflection of that is the other actors and actresses and the people that are the cast and crew and everyone involved in this film should not be punished over the actions of one disgusting fucking human being. Like, so it's unfair to write off a creative thing that people that were a part of that had nothing to do with what happened, right? I'm in solidarity with the victim of the individual. He's just a piece of shit. I don't even want to say his name, but like the individual, like I'm in solidarity with the victim and not the person. So I think what's happened is after this, 1, 2, and 3 came out, the accusation and proven incident had come forward at that point. And so what they decided to do was they're going to tell the story again and they're going to change it. Like, so whether the Creeper is played by a different actor, I don't know. I don't know. Like, whether, but it's called Reborn and it's coming out, like, I think this year or next year. And this is going to be the next set of trilogy in the Jeepers Creepers universe. So that's just my point of view on that one. Like, also the second reason why, while I was umming and ahhing whether I picked Jeepers Creepers as the film for this episode, and for my past statement that I just said before was the reason why I chose and stuck with it, because I just feel this individual can't punish other people, you know, and by, you know, somehow cancelling this film is almost making him win, like, because other people have now become more victims of it, right? You know, it's just how it is. Anyway, so that's my statement. I now shall continue on with the film. Cool. So at that point, the cops get attacked. They're like, right, you know, they're on their own. They're just surviving now. They're on this road. They don't know where the fuck they're going. They're just trying to get away from this thing. And so they meet up with another house. They find another farmhouse. They go in for hopefully to use a phone in order to notify that the police, those officers are down and they need police assistance. This is where they meet the cat lady played by Eileen Brennan. Anyone my age and a bit older would recognise her from the movie with Steve Curry, Tim Curry, not Steve Curry, he's an Australian actor. Like, it's the Tim Curry, Mr. Pennywise himself. He and you know, Rocky Horror Picture Show. In Clue, he plays the butler, but she plays one of the rich ladies in the movie Clue, which is a phenomenal, mate. Check it out. It's a great 80s film. I'm still hunting a copy for that myself to make from my 80s collection. It's a great movie. I watched it as a kid. My mum and I loved it. We watched it numerous times. I had my own copy that I taped off the television. It was a phenomenal show, movie. So yeah, really liked it. So you'd know her from that. So obviously now very aged. So she plays this kind of crazy cat lady kind of in there. They're trying to ask if they can use the phone. Being a country person, naturally suspicious of outsiders, and was not really reluctantly wanting anyone to come into their house and use their phone. Rightly so. And so because of this delay, the creeper was able to catch up, kind of thing, and is now in the thing. So, you know, shit kind of goes down there as well, and the hunt continues. And again, you know, they escape, kind of thing. So eventually they make their way down to the town and to the sheriff's department, and and so yeah, that's kind of where the major kind of showdown happens with the creeper. This is where we meet Giselle in person, and Giselle's really trying to explain to them, like, this is what's going to go down, like, and they're really kind of pissed off. They're scared. She's saying some pretty stuff, like, she's saying a lot of stuff that's scaring the shit out of them at the same time. So rightly, they're very resistant to her and what she's saying. And then the creeper attacks inside the God, she's having a bloody brain melt then, like, inside the police station. So there's a big showdown, and the creeper gets to pick who he wants, like, and how he does that is by scent. So he's been sniffing, you know, Durry's stuff, he's been sniffing Trisha's stuff, he's sniffing her, sniffing him, like licking her, licking him. He's picking, like, and then in this minute to 2 minutes, it's this intense. So the first time I watched this movie, this whole premise and like how he was selecting who he was going to pick and eat was just, it reminded, I was just like, fuck. I know, like, animals can sense fear or smell or things like that. And just that way he was hunting, like, in that premise, the gills on his neck, you know, this kind of stuff that you were seeing throughout the film, like, just the autonomy of the creeper was really amazing. Like, you know, the gills and all this other stuff and noises, and this was slowly released to you throughout the film, and that's why, you know, the creature concept was phenomenal for me. Like, there's nothing like him. Outside of Predator, you know, there's a bit where he opens his face and there's the hooks and you think, and you kind of, it's a bit Predator, but not really. Like, you can't go, oh, it's a full-blown rip-off. It's not. So there's been some design changes, deliberate design changes, you can tell with the creature for that. And so, yeah, that's kind of that for me. And then so at that point, there's the showdown with the officers, and then he starts attacking the officers as well. In between that, you will see, standing behind everybody, you will see Jonathan Brick, spelled B-R-E-C-K. He is actually the creeper. Like, he's the guy playing the creeper, but he's also one of the officers, lining up with a gun drawn, watching this other officer getting killed, and then he joins in the shooting in the background. So it's like this blink you'll miss it kind of cameo of the guy who's playing the creeper for the last two other movies as well. There's no mention of him in Reborn, so I don't know whether he's gone on or he's not. I don't know. I don't know about that. There's no other information about Reborn and who's in it. It's just, that's it. So that's all I can tell you at the moment. So I thought that was funny, interesting, you know, that he kind of was in the movie as the creature, but also as one of the cops as well. So, yeah. So that's what happens, and then basically the creeper gets who he wants to get, and that's kind of how that goes down, you know. And then you got the ending. So I'm going to stop there. I won't go any further because that's kind of when you go into the spoiler territory. So if you haven't seen Jeepers Creepers, definitely go and check it out. Like I said, it's free on YouTube, so you can grab a copy. I've got my own DVD version here, so I'll watch that. And actually, I'll just check. Okay, correction. So what I've just had a quick squeeze on YouTube. So basically, you can rent Jeepers Creepers Ravenous, which is the third or the fourth installment. Jeepers Creepers 2, you can watch for free. Jeepers Creepers 3, you can watch for free. And the first one, you can't. It's yeah, no, you can't. Yeah. So, well, actually, Jeepers Creepers 3, you can actually watch for free. You don't have to buy it. You don't have to rent it. If you go down, you'll see it. So yeah, it's a well. You got the choice of buying and renting Jeepers Creepers 2 and 3, but there's two versions on here that you can just watch anyway. It's good quality. It's not shit. So you can see it from that. There you go. Cool. So yeah, that's Jeepers Creepers. So like I said, I'm also gonna say honorable mentions. Humanoids from the Deep, Chud, Pumpkinhead, and Rawhead Rex are also my horrible mentions for the creature feature horror segment of this episode, number 20 for Adelaide Horror Podcast. Like I said, yeah, so I'm going to go into it a bit more, the other movies a bit more into the podcast version of this. But this version was just going to be a bit shorter, and I was just going to quickly go over the movie Jeepers Creepers, and then cool. So that's that. So I hope you enjoyed the show. Like I said, more in-depth show in the Spotify, iTunes, and Stitcher version. So once you're finished with this and you want to get into a bit more, or you're driving your car around or whatever, go on and listen to the show on there. Cool. So just a reminder, every month now will be an episode rather than every fortnight. It's just the way it goes. That's my reality at the moment, how everything is. So I hope you enjoyed the show. Please like and subscribe on YouTube here. It would be great. I've only got a couple of numbers that are subscribed and big numbers on Instagram and Facebook. So if you could help me out by clicking the subscribe button here on YouTube and liking a video, that will be good. And also with Spotify, feel free to write to me at Adelaide Horror Podcast gmail.com, or you can message me on the Facebook group Adelaide Horror Podcast. You can join that way. You can also write to me on Instagram as well, or message me on Instagram via one of the pictures I upload, or you can message me. Feel free to message me. I'm very happy to talk with you. I'm very happy to video chat with you if you like. I've no qualms with that whatsoever. I've got some cool projects coming up, so that's pretty good in the pipeline. Like I said, it's just come down to timing and work and jiggling everything and, and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, fantastic. So stay scary, and I'll see you in the crypt.